Hello, and welcome to another episode of It's the Pictures. This is episode number 224. I am your host, Evan Crean, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Max Covill.
How you
Hey,
doing?
Max. Good, Max. How are you?
Good. I think I was waiting for my cue there.
Yeah, that was my fault. I fumbled the cue. What's going on with you, Max? What's new?
What's new? I guess we're recording now the day after the great America 250 bash celebration, and I can still hear fireworks going off in the sky.
Yeah, I was hearing them as we discussed off mic until like 12:30, and then I'm sure people will be firing them off for like the next week or so. It usually happens around 4th of July, right? People get all their it reminds me of there was an episode of The Simpsons where they go on vacation and they go to like the vacation version of the Quickie Mart, and the guy behind the counter is like, celebrate the independence of your nation by blowing up a small part of it. And he like leads them to like the back alley fireworks shop that's like behind the back of the store.
I mean, I get it. I used to love shooting off fireworks, and don't let me be the curmudgeon here. I think like there's certainly a time, like the time is from like 9 p.m. to midnight, and yeah, as much as I hate it now that I have a small child and now have a dog, have your fun. But when I have to hear it all the way to like 2 a.m. or hear it like on weeknights, that's kind of where I draw the line.
Yeah, I think we've passed the respectful firework. I don't even know what to say. That rule. It's kind of funny too, considering we just covered the Jackass movies, and there's plenty of fireworks in those. Although they're usually sticking out of people's butts, or in some other like ludicrous situation. Waking up Phil Margera when he's trying to like get ready to go to work or whatever.
But speaking of which, Evan, like for the It's the Pictures podcast, we've picked like two, I would say almost left field topics for our podcast. Last episode we did the Jackass franchise, and this week we're looking at the Enola Holmes movies. Very much a product of Netflix and getting their start really like as this enjoyable thing that you could watch during the pandemic, but now has a longevity to it that maybe no one expected.
I know I certainly didn't expect to be here talking about Enola Holmes 3 at this point. But here we are. We will be talking about that. As Max said, we're talking about the Enola Holmes movies, which we'll jump into in detail. But before that, I think we want to jump into our summer box office game, which has had some rather surprising results in the last couple of weeks. This summer really is a head scratcher in some ways. I've been really surprised by the performance of certain movies. And on my end, some underperformance. Max, you've been doing quite well with Toy Story 5. You're up to 366 million there, so kudos on that.
Yeah, I mean, like I don't think Toy Story 5 was like this big swing. Like I kind of expected that. Like the surest bets of the summer were probably Toy Story 5 and Spider-Man. I think what still surprised me is that Devil Wears Prada 2 number for you right now is your highest grossing movie of the summer. I would have never predicted that.
Yeah, me neither. Very, very surprised by that. And yeah, so on my end, I've had Supergirl come out, which is underperforming. It's made a measly $58 million. And now Minions and Monsters, and that's only made $61 million. So things are not, all of my movies are now out. So things are not looking good on my end in terms of being able to compete with you, because you're already up to like 445 million and I'm up to 619. But I can't imagine that mine is going to edge much further for Supergirl if it's already not doing well. But maybe Minions and Monsters will do better. Who knows?
Yeah, and I guess like it's the frame of Minions and Monsters against Toy Story 5, right? It's I was already reading some box office pundits from the reviews on Sunday, and they were like, "Well, every movie this weekend kind of missed estimates because whether or not it was because of the 4th of July or it
Mm-hmm.
was because the World Cup is on. Um, who knows?" But I guess another commentary I saw was like, "Oh, when families go in the movie theaters and maybe they didn't have the opportunity to see both Toy Story 5 and Minions and Monsters, they're presented with a choice. You know, they have to pick one or the other."
Mm-hmm.
And now, for that family money, we're talking about 6 days from now, we're having the Moana live action coming out. So that will be another muddle in the family film race.
Yep. And we're both regretting not picking Obsession or Backrooms. And Scary Movie's not been doing terrible either, right?
No, I think all three of those horror movies, I was tracking them for a while, but I dropped off this most recent time, and they've continued to do pretty well. I think Obsession is gonna start dropping back because they finally, uh I say they, I mean like Focus Features released it on premium VOD this past week, so people could rent it or buy it at home. And I think like since they waited so long for that to happen, the physical media release is already like in a week or two. Um, so much shorter than traditional. So I think Obsession will probably, you know, end its run soon. I think Backrooms tried a promotional campaign. Evan, I don't know if you saw that. They were like, "Oh, come see Backrooms of an additional 15 minutes of footage." That was like their like,
That was their draw.
yeah, that
It's
was the
pretty
draw
weak
this
sauce.
weekend.
It's pretty weak sauce.
I mean, I guess it was only down 25%. So I mean, like that's not bad. Um,
No, it's
and
not.
we're gonna talk about the final Jackass movie a little bit later because I got to see it, but um, yeah, Paramount dropped the ball on that one big time. It's just like those movies used to do pretty good. Those Jackass movies, or like,
Mm-hmm.
and this one has not done anything.
That's too bad. That's too bad. Well, neither of us picked it, so we're not regretting it,
No,
I guess. We still feel bad for them, those guys who put their bodies on the line to entertain us. All right, should we move on to the rest of our news here?
sure, yeah. I mean, like we'll just say that going forward for the box office game, I have July pretty much because I have
Mm-hmm.
Moana, The Odyssey, and Spider-Man coming out. So um, we'll quickly know what happens in the box office game within the next 2 weeks, probably.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so the next item on our agenda is I'm excited to talk about this. There's more Heat 2 news. Heat 2, for those who weren't paying attention, the prequel to Heat, still being called Heat 2. And it's based on the Michael Mann's novel that he wrote. And some fun casting choices here. Leonardo DiCaprio and Christian Bale are apparently in for Heat 2. And so it's going to start shooting in November. That's cool. Michael Mann is signed on to direct. And it's surprising news, Christian Bale will play Vincent Hanna, the Al Pacino character from the film. And Leonardo DiCaprio will play Chris Shiherlis, the Val Kilmer character. That was certainly a surprise to me.
Yeah,
Because I'm like,
this was
go
based
ahead.
off of Michael Mann's novel of Heat 2. He wrote this a few
Yeah.
years back, and um, I heard it was well received. I didn't actually read it read it myself, but
Mm. Yeah, I had it and I was reading and I was enjoying it. And I just like totally fell off and meant to like dig it back out and finish it. So I'm eager to see the movie when it comes out. Although Stephen Graham, I guess they haven't locked down the. It sounds like they haven't locked down the villain for the movie, and also they haven't necessarily locked down the Robert De Niro character,
mm,
which is interesting, nor the Ashley Judd character. So I guess there's still a lot of like potential casting that could be taking place for this still, but some high profile people. And what do you think about this, Max?
Yeah, I don't, it's funny, Evan. Michael Mann is kind of hit or miss for me. I think with a
Mm-hmm.
lot of his movies.
I hear that.
I liked Ferrari, which I think is his most recent one. Um, and it didn't blow me away, but like Last of the Mohicans, I think is pretty good. He is amazing. I like The Insider quite a bit. Uh, there was a period that I didn't jive with his movies, and maybe I'm abnormal because like there's a lot of people online who like really went for them, like Miami Vice and Black Cat, and I was just like, no, I can't. Those movies do nothing for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't see Ferrari. I remember liking Black Hat, but yeah, I totally hear you on Man being he can be hit or miss. He's very stylish, but yeah, not always the most substance. I mean, I guess Amazon has snagged this one, so I guess we'll see if they can, make it succeed. And apparently, it's supposed to have a pretty large scale. I'm just like reading through this article from the Wrap. They were talking about somebody on the inside saying that this is like going to take place over multiple continents. This individual described the scale as, quote, Spartacus with machine guns, John Wick times 1,000. Those are some pretty bold claims. And they're saying the action sequences are going to dwarf the action from the original film, which has some pretty heavy hitting action scenes.
Yeah, I don't know. Uh, you know, um, I don't think Amazon as like a studio has had a lot of heavy hitters or a lot of monster successes. It just feels that way to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Project Hail Mary is really the big one thus far, and
Mm-hmm.
um, other ones, they've had pretty good movies if you went and looked for them, but not like anything that uh, maybe jump up and down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we'll see what happens with Heat 2. I'm cautiously optimistic. I'll probably my butt will probably be in the seat. And maybe before then I'll finally finish reading the book. So the next item on our news is that Tomi Adeyemi, the author of the book Children of Blood and Bone, says she's not going to watch the adaptation. That's the film adaptation that's going to be coming out. That I guess she co-wrote with Gina Prince Bythewood. It's coming out in January, it looks like, and so I guess that's pretty scandalous. As she was saying on social media that she's not going to like post anything about it, and she's not going to see the film, doesn't plan to see it. And I guess there was also some drama with Amanda Stenberg, who is plays I think the main character in the film.
Mm-hmm.
And she
Yeah,
like I guess there was a screenshot or something of her saying to Amanda Stenberg like, "Don't talk about me in interviews, don't text me, like stay away from me."
yeah.
Which I was like, "Damn, some pretty intense drama surrounding this, Max. Do you know more about this? I don't know a ton about this or this drama. This all came as a shock to me, and it's pretty shocking to have the author and co-writer of a movie, like adaptation, being like, "No, I want nothing to do with this."
Yeah, not to mention that we're 6 months out from its proposed date. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
and that now this is going to boil over, and really kind of paint that picture. And I was surprised when like they gave it a January date. Like I keep on waiting for that to move because this series Children of Blood and Bone is pretty popular. I think I picked up one of the novels myself and never read it, but I have wherewithal of it, and certainly with Gina Prince Bythewold attached, I've liked quite a lot of her movies, like Woman King, and I think it's like Beyond the Lights, I think is the name of the title
Mm-hmm.
of one of her movies. Love and Basketball. So I certainly like a whole bunch of her films. So I was looking
Yeah.
forward to how this would turn out, but yeah, I was pretty shocked that there's like this much bad blood um, behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, and the Yenta in me is like, I want to know more. Tell me more about this behind the scenes drama, and I'm sure we won't know anything
I mean,
for a while.
she's not the first author to like disown a movie when it came out of their book, right?
Yeah,
Certainly,
no, true.
maybe the most famous is like Stephen King says he hates the Kubrick Shining.
Yeah, I think he's dumb. Personally, I think Stephen King. I love Stephen King. I think he's a prolific and author and very funny person, and he has a lot of interesting things to say. But I think that's a dumb take on his part. But yeah, I'm definitely curious to know more, and maybe we will know at some point. But I feel really sad that the author of this book put, I'm sure her heart and soul into this, and is just not happy with the output or the experience of working on the movie. It's
Mm,
heartbreaking.
yeah.
All right, and then the last item in our news here is kind of leads us into our feature. It turns out that I also apparently thought there was some bad blood between
Right.
Millie Bobby Brown and David Harbour, who worked on basically played father and daughter on Stranger Things, and they're going to reunite for a Netflix spy drama where I believe they're playing father and daughter again. um, yeah, so David Harbour is going to play Matt Wolf, a disgraced FBI agent turned security consultant, drawn back into the world he left behind when his estranged daughter Rebecca, now an FBI agent, who's going to follow in his footsteps, vanishes on a mission, so he's got to go back into the field. And I think this is also A24 is behind this one, um, and it comes from the Enola Holmes and adolescence writer Jack Thorne. So I mean, I probably would give this thing a watch because I like them. And A24 they put the Beef uh, series out on Netflix, and I thought the first season was excellent, and the second season, not so much.
Mm.
What do you think about this news, Max?
No, I put it on here for two reasons really. Is because like it kind of led into our feature topic, and because there was behind the scenes drama, or at least there was like press drama that was built up of like Millie Bobby Brown like wanting to be like separated from David Harbour, or like some kind of like bad blood between them. I think I read something as far as like, like keep away from each other or what have you. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they'd sign on to do another project together if that was the case.
Yeah, and this article is saying that I guess she had claimed that he bullied and harassed her, and he said it was a false story, and he was upset about it, and he just kind of chalked it up to like, you have people you're close with, and you get in arguments and disagreements, and you're like a family, and it's okay, and you come back and work together. So I guess it's that, maybe, question mark. I don't know. I've been hearing some kind of like icky things about him in general, about his marriage to Lily Allen, right?
Right, his
And some of the
personal
stuff,
life.
his personal life. So I'm like, maybe he's not such a good guy based on the other things I'm hearing. And maybe I'm inclined to believe what she is saying. Anyway, I will probably still give it a go. And speaking of Stranger Things, Max, I have not seen the last episodes of Stranger Things, and I've had just zero motivation to actually watch them. Have you?
No, I think like Shannon and I watched it pretty closely, and then they like that second to last season they split up into like two different watch cycles,
Mm-hmm.
and we didn't pick it up at part two. And so I was like, oh, so okay, I'm not gonna watch it. And then I was like, maybe we'll watch it like going and when the new season comes out, we'll watch it. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm so divested from anything that happens.
Yeah. It's kind of sad because I feel like I was really, really into Stranger Things once upon a time. And then my interest just completely waned to the point that I just like stopped caring about it altogether.
I think like, it's tough. Like I think it goes back to like these shows that take too long to come out. I say like as someone who used to watch The Bear, and The Bear just released its like final season.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, that was steady. Every year they had, their 8 episodes of The Bear that you could watch. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, even though I guess it dropped off in quality big time during those last 2 or 3 seasons, at least it was there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Not like some of these other shows like Stranger Things or Severance, which took many years due to writer strikes or the pandemic, and I just I I lost interest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a shame. Anyway, I suppose we should delve into our main topic, which is the Enola Holmes movies, starring, of course, Millie Bobby Brown. And I guess let's just start from the top here. So, we were kind of talking about potential things to cover, and I had suggested this because, we just had a new one come out. Enola Holmes 3 came out a couple days ago. And I was like, I've seen all three of them at this point. And I'm like, okay, maybe let's see. What do you think, Max? You're like, sure, I'll give them a watch. They're kind of like, as you mentioned, the first one came out in, I believe, 2020, and we kind of became like a fun distraction from the pandemic. And, in a group of movies that were just released straight to streaming. And these have never had a theatrical release as far as I know. They're not something you can go in the theater and see, but they're kind of light, fun, rompy, kind of adventure-y, kind of action-y movies to watch at home with Netflix. So, yeah, Max, I'm very curious what your like overall vibe is from seeing these, finally like sitting down and watching these.
No, and like you said, like I think like a lot of this for Netflix, the interest came from, you know, this is Millie Bobby Brown. She's our star from Stranger Things. We want to be
Mhm.
in business with her. Henry Cavill, certainly he was in The Witcher for them. So it was very familiar faces where you could just go, like, Netflix likes that algorithm where they're like, oh, you like this? Well, we have this other thing where these people have appeared.
Mhm.
So that worked out well for them. I guess like it allowed Millie Bobby Brown to kind of like flex a little bit, where
Yeah.
I feel like all I knew her from was Stranger Things,
Mhm.
and now since these movies have come out, that she's really become like the Netflix star, or at least like one of their top tier stars.
Right. Yeah, because she's like branched out into she's done other movies. They're not good, some of them, but
Yeah, isn't
she's
there one
done
called
other
like
things.
there's like Damsel, and there's the Electric State, I think, which,
Yeah.
and so like those were also Netflix.
Yeah. I liked Damsel personally. I think it was a lot of fun, and I think it was for me a similar vibe of fun to these movies. But The Electric State is one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my entire life. It is just trash. But yeah, I'm with you. I think it makes a lot of sense that Netflix decided, okay, we're going to be in the Millie Bobby Brown business. She's great in Stranger Things. Let's see what else she can do. And I think personally, she does have the charisma to carry these kind of actiony movies. I don't think she has the best acting skills.
Mm,
I think she's good at the physical stuff. I think she's better at doing the physical stuff than she is at the acting piece of it. But these are kind of silly and light, and like we know, one of the listeners, these are based on a series of novels, which are of course based on Arthur Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes. Like in this world, Sherlock Holmes has a like kid sister who is also a sleuth, and sometimes they're teaming up, sometimes they're kind of at odds about how to work on cases. And yeah.
yeah, I was doing some research. It's like it's I think it's younger than like young adult. It's probably like early reader is the level of these books, and the idea is that, right, Enola Holmes exists, and she is also a detective.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But yeah, what should we just go like movie by movie, I guess, and like
Yeah,
just
yeah.
kind of
So so
delve into them?
so I guess what makes these Enola Holmes movies, uh like one of the trademarks of them, outside of having Millie Bobby Brown like solve these cases and having familiar characters from the world of Sherlock, is she often breaks the fourth wall. And I,
Yes.
I I saw that like some notes on the Wikipedia page for Enola Holmes 1 that she occasionally breaks the fourth wall. I wouldn't call it occasionally. I think
Yeah.
I think like she spends half of these movies talking to the audience.
Yeah, the movies themselves are very voiceover heavy. They are, yes, she's talking to the audience a lot. She's breaking the fourth wall quite a bit. And I think in the first one it was new to me. So it was kind of like, okay, this is novel and fun, and I'm kind of like rolling along with it and enjoying it. I thought the first movie, I felt it was kind of slow, but overall I like really enjoyed it quite a bit. Um
Yeah,
the plot of this one,
now that we're
go ahead.
talking about it, it kind of reminds me of like watching Fleabag for the first time, the Phoebe
Mm,
Waller-Bridge show that's on Amazon, and like her character would live with breaking the fourth wall, and I think like I don't know, I never found that as grating as like I do in some instances here. But
yeah.
you know, what they like to do, what I say in general, movies or big productions like to do is surround their young stars with recognizable talent. And so in this
Mhm.
movie, you do have Henry Cavill at playing Sherlock. You have Helena Bonham Carter as her mother, and these
Right.
are big, like A class stars.
Yeah, exactly. So they kind of like support her. And in the first one, the whole premise is that her mother is missing and she's trying to find her, and tangentially talking to Sherlock, and also Sam Claflin is in this and he plays Mycroft Holmes. I think it's really interesting that they just straight up abandoned Mycroft Holmes after this.
Yeah, at
And
this
like
one.
after this one, he's non-existent. And yeah, and by the third one, like she's getting married, and like he's no, there's like, oh, I have two children. I have Sherlock and I have Enola, which is alone spelled backwards, which the movie reminds us.
Yes,
In the first
constantly.
one, yeah,
No,
but
I did try to listen for it when I was watching the third one last night, and they were like, "Oh, my oldest brother is a boar" or something. At least they like give him like a passing reference.
yeah, but it's like basically like they just wrote him out of the movies, which I was like kind of sad because I like Sam Claflin and I think he was actually pretty fun in the first one as being kind of like a stick in the mud. I mean, they both Sam Claflin and Henry Cavill kind of like exist to be like stiffer and like more serious than Enola in these movies. Like,
Yeah, right. And mom, played by Helena Bonham Carter, is like this loose cannon.
right, she's eccentric, she's a terrorist, basically. Uh, lots of explosions and radical feminism, and that's fun. And I think the first one, like I said, I thought it was slow, but I had a good time. I like that this world imagines a more diverse group of people that are like inhabiting the world of Arthur Conan Doyle. Like Lestrade is played by Adil Akhtar, who I really like him a lot as an actor. And Hamish Patel is Dr. Watson in the other films. So I like that there's a mix of like different actors and ethnicities, and it feels fresher and more fun, and in a way. So I liked that the movies were doing that. They were kind of like being a little bit more like progressive in some of their casting, and making more interesting choices there.
Right. And I was going to point out what Minecraft really is doing in the first one is like when Dora Holmes, Nola's mother, goes missing, he kind of comes and she comes over and presumes the parental figure and sees Enola as his ward, and he very much wants to like see her get a proper lady education and get married and you know bring good fortune to the Holmes name.
Hmm.
And so that's kind of what makes him evil when she's like, "Oh, I'm smart enough. I don't I don't need to like conform to anything. I'm gonna go off and find my mom and kind of go about my life the way I do." And when she does, she kind of falls into this other mystery where there's this young man who is known as Tewksbury, and
Mm-hmm.
he is uh, the son of a lord who passed away recently, or was poisoned. That we discover, and
Mm-hmm.
there's people after him to take him out too. And
Yeah.
um, at first she's kind of playful with him, and she's like, "Oh, I could care less about you, and you're kind of a fool." But she ends up quickly falling for him and his very progressive ways.
Yeah. Yeah, that certainly is charming. And I think they're kind of cute together. I think his performance is fine. I think they have good chemistry, at least, and they kind of have a fun rapport when they're on screen together. Although I don't always feel like a romantic angle is necessary.
No, and like I think like in from what I've read in the novels is that he appears in like one mystery, and that's the mystery that this book is based off of. And then
Mhm.
she kind of like goes off and does other things, and he's not really in the picture. But like I guess this movie
Yeah.
world very much wanted her to have this romantic counterpart and just included him all the way through it. Um I'm kind of opposite of you, and while I think like most young actors, he grows into the role, or at least he's better in the third one. I think he's just like really uncomfortable to watch in this first movie, and maybe that's just me as a 40-year-old man watching two, you know, I don't know, 17, 18-year olds try to fall in love on screen, but
Yeah. Yeah. I had the realization recently that Millie Bobby Brown is literally 22 years old, and I
yeah.
just like I forget that she's so young because she's been working since she's like 10 on Stranger Things, basically, right? I mean, like it's kind of crazy to me that she's been in the public eye and she's been so busy on these things for Netflix, but it's like I forget that she's so young. But like also when this came out, she literally like was a teenager still. And so I feel like that lent more of an air of like authenticity and like a spunkiness to it that probably by the time we're reaching the most recent one, I'm kind of like, I'm over it.
Right. Yeah. Now, in the most recent one, here's an adult woman who's kind of like acting this way, as opposed to
Yeah,
like,
acting still very like childlike.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, I found these like kind of light and zippy and like they could be a lot of fun because there's a lot of like animations and lots of like sometimes it looks like cutouts and papers
sure.
and
Well,
just there's a lot of like movement.
we'll talk about more because I think a lot more of that is in the second movie, but um, in the first one, that there is a big plot to try to kill this Tewksbury kid, and um, she keeps on kind of falling into this mystery and being, connected with it somehow. While Sherlock is busy trying to track her down because like she's
Hmm.
missing. She's supposed to be going to like this like boarding school,
Right.
and so he's kind of like looking for her at the same time, and he's involved in this like murder case too. And I don't know. I don't think any of the mysteries are all that great. I think that they're kind of just there as flavoring to like move the story along because
Hmm.
I think you could watch an episode of like, I don't know, CSI and get a better mystery than like what any of these three movies is.
Yeah, and like thinking back on these, I mean, I'll talk more about the third one later, but I think honestly, yeah, you're right. Their mysteries are not particularly memorable. But I think these movies, I think it really hits its stride by the second one. I think the second one's my favorite of the group, and I don't know. I just feel like it like figured out more of like what it was doing and was more fun to me because it was like, okay, we have Henry Cavill here. Like, why don't we use him more? Like, why don't we include him more in the mystery? and like have him be more of like a partner to
Right.
Millie Bobby Brown as opposed to just kind of like a an afterthought or like a side character. And I think that's why the second one for me was like most successful because it felt like, okay, we know Henry Cavill can be great. Why don't we like use him more? Why don't we make him more of an asset to this franchise?
Right, and they go to great lengths. I guess we'll move on to the second one. The first one kind of ends with Enola not necessarily finding her mom, but her mom finding her when she needs to.
Yeah.
um, so that kind of ends that big mystery. And in the second one, they instead of adapting one of the novels, they kind of look back at histories because one of the big highlights of positive things I think the Enola Holmes movies have going for them is like they are very like women's rights centric. Like
Hmm.
it's not just like a one off. It runs through the whole thing. You have Helena Bonham Carter's character is very much like she's a terrorist, but she's a terrorist for women's rights, and like
Right. Liberation.
she wants to raise hell to um save women or give women more power.
Hmm.
And that certainly is a thing for the second movie where the big mystery is that these women who have all been connected to this like matchmaking plant have come down with a mysterious illness, and there's just girls disappearing. And there's even one girl who, I guess this is her little sister, or like, or like what they refer to her as little sister, is looking for her and hires Enola on the case because Enola, even though she was successful winning her first case in the first movie, she's still a woman, and they all just say, "Oh, that was Sherlock's case. That wasn't your case."
Right. Yeah. In
And
the beginning, she's like opened her own detective agency, but she's like really struggling to get traction.
right. And so she takes this case and gets involved with a big trial, whereas Sherlock is finally being stumped on his own. He can't solve this case, and um, it's maybe because his arch nemesis Professor Moriarty has joined the franchise.
Hmm. Yep. This one does introduce us to Moriarty, who gasped is a woman.
Yes.
A woman of color, gasp. We didn't know that that was coming. Yeah, I think that's a fun introduction to Moriarty, who ends up being, the main adversary of the third film. But in the second one, you also get David Thewlis as a villain, and he's always fun, right?
Yeah,
Doesn't he play a
he's
corrupt
a
cop?
crooked cop. Yeah,
Yeah.
who's always had a vendetta against the Holmes family. But like,
Yeah. What?
I don't know. What do you think you liked about the second one the best? You think it's because that there's more like of Henry Cavill involved,
Yeah.
or
Yeah, I think it's that there's more Henry Cavill. I think, it puts the two of them together, working, together. There's more collaboration there. I think the movie, overall, I felt like it was like paced better. I think you're right, including kind of like real events and giving like a somewhat factual basis and background to this, and it lent it more legitimacy and just, I don't know, gave it authenticity that was just working better. And yeah, I just feel like I think the mystery overall was more interesting in the second one as
yeah,
well.
yeah. For some reason, I forget like even why they work Lewis Partridge back into this movie and playing reprising his role as Tewksbury and the love interest. And I think at one point it's because Enola tracks the missing woman to this ball, and he's there
Mhm.
because he's a lord, and she's like, "Oh, I need to know how to dance because I need to be able to dance with this guy to get more information." and so they go into a private room and have a dance together, where he
Mhm.
teaches her how to dance.
Yeah, that's cute. That's a cute thing for them to do.
And yeah, and then he's there at the finale, I guess, as he gets he's like, oh yeah, I'm invested in this case, and part of it is because he has like puppy dog eyes for Enola Holmes. It's like very much like
Mhm.
he he only has eyes for her.
Yeah. I mean, you also saw this more recently than me. Do you have other things to add? Or did you not like this one? Like, how did you rate this versus the first one?
Don't know. At the end of the day, like I think they were exactly what I thought they were gonna be, is like kind of breezy
Mhm.
movies that like you could put it on and watch. And like I don't watch enough Netflix movies to say like that's the formula for a Netflix movie, but like sometimes when I do reading on Netflix movies, that's kind of the sense I get, is like very much like they have a formula, or that they need to do something in order to like hit certain metrics. And I I very much feel like these are within that system.
Mhm.
And maybe not so much the first one, because maybe like I think the first one had the benefit of like not being like a made for Netflix like movie. It was like originally developed by Warner Brothers, I think,
Hmm.
and they sold it during the pandemic because they couldn't put it in theaters. And it just made sense for Netflix.
Yeah, and I from what I've heard too about Netflix movies is that they often dumb them down because,
Hmm.
people aren't really paying as much attention. They're, like, on their phones or doing other things, and I feel like that was really coming through strongly in the 3rd one,
Yeah, let's go to the
where I
third
felt.
one now, because
Yeah.
this one just came out on July 1st. It was pretty anticipated. It's been some time since the last one came out. Millie Bobby Brown, as we already talked about, is 22 years old. She's been fighting the media, or at least like British comedians, about like people are like, oh, you look too much of a lady, and she's like, oh, I am 22 years old. Um, she's very much made a life for herself. Um, Outside of her franchises. And
Mhm.
um
Yeah, she's got a kid now, which is
yeah,
crazy.
she's married to John Bon Jovi's son. So she's has quite a lot of things going on. So when she returns here to Enola Holmes 3, the movie very quickly is like, oh, you know how her and Tewksbury were in love at the end of the last one? Well, now they're gonna get married.
Yeah. Yep. The movie's, like, centered on the fact that they're supposed to get married, and the whole opening is, like, her, she's late to her own wedding, rushing, and then, thinks she's getting, attacked by a bandit, and it turns out that's Dr. Watson coming to tell her that her brother is missing, and so she's like, "Oh, crap, I gotta find my brother, and I'm sure Moriarty's behind it."
Yeah.
And, like, basically chasing down Sherlock to figure out what's going on. And then there's also this whole, like, scandal involving, like, Tewksbury and, like, Afghan gold. I mean, you tell me what you think, but I thought this one was highly convoluted with, like, a lot of different, like, layers to the mystery, but none of them really, like, adding up to anything all that interesting. It just
No,
felt, like, murky.
No, it's funny you say that. Like, so Watson was kind of introduced in the post credits of Enola Holmes 2, here played by Hamish Patel, who I like quite a bit in a lot of things. I think most notably, I like him in the HBO Station 11
Yeah,
adaptation. I think he's excellent in
excellent in
that.
that.
Um, but like Evan said, this is very much like, oh well, that there's this guy who helps Moriarty get out of prison, and the audience is let in on that right at the beginning. There's no that I mean, they don't show Moriarty's face at the beginning, but everybody who has a brain knows that it's Moriarty.
Right.
And there's this like runaround where they like there's people who like kind of tease Enola Holmes and are like, oh, it's this other doctor or this other person that is this name or like is behind this. And I'm like, it reminds me of like the misdirection that like Star Trek Into Darkness tried to do, Evan, where like they were
Around the
like,
whole Khan thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
when they were like Benedict Cumberbatch isn't Khan. There's no way he's Khan. Of
Hmm.
course he's Khan.
Yeah. Where else is this friggin' going?
Yeah, right. So
We're like, we'll just make it different. We'll just make Kirk die this time instead of Spock. We're like, what?
yeah, so I was just like, it's very much the third Enola Holmes movie feels less of a movie than the other two. Like it feels like very much like, oh, this is our victory lap, and we have everybody's gonna come back and have a nice time
Hmm.
and get another paycheck. Um, People are gonna show up on the camera. They at the end of the movie they have like a character that played Enola Holmes like martial arts instructor who appeared in the first two movies, and she has no appearance in this third movie other than to come in at the end and like
At the
I,
wedding. Yeah.
I was joking with my wife. I was like, oh, she had to come in and get her SAG credit for, for this movie.
Yeah. The movie, I felt as tired watching this as Henry Cavill's character, as Henry Cavill looks in this movie, because like he's being held prisoner by Moriarty like the entire time. So he's like barely in it. He barely has anything to do, which is super disappointing. And yeah, the movie both feels simultaneously long and slow and tedious, but also, like you said, it feels like it's like lacking its substance to the point where like I feel like there's a million endings in this movie where you're like, okay, we got to have this wrap up conversation. We got to have this wrap up conversation with this character. She's going to like, talk with Sherlock. She's going to talk with Tewksbury. We're going to watch the wedding. We're going to watch this. And it's just like, oh my God, I was exhausted by them. Like, why is this movie still going? It feels like it's over. We solved the mystery like 20 minutes ago.
Right. No, that's true. At the end of this movie is like the mystery is solved, and then they add like 25-minute epilogue on to this.
Yeah, and it's like an hour and 40 something minute movie. So you're like, how much like filler do you need to add?
But like we're talking about characters that like come into this movie and kind of do nothing. They have like this character played by like Joe as a party. His name's like Mikhail, and he's part of this like anti Malta like brigade
Yeah,
or something like that.
anti-fascist, like anti-colonial, like revolutionary group, and that's somewhat funny because it has a really long name and explanation, and like it's a running gag where people are like, all right, we get it, Inigo Montoya, we know what you're doing, shut up.
Right, exactly. That's what it felt like they were going for.
Yeah, but yeah, he also, I feel like his character is like there's nothing really much going on there to do, but he's like still like a character who pops up in a bunch of scenes.
Right. He just kind of shows up. But another thing that there was two other things that like really bothered me about the third movie, Evan. And it's like at the first movie, Millie Bobby Brown does this like kind of like cute aside to the camera where she goes like "tis I," and like
Hmm.
it's Netflix was like, oh wait, that kind of did well on like social media or something. Let's have her use that as like her trademark like her trademark now. And like
Hmm.
so, like in the third movie, there's like not only does she do it, but also like Helena Bonham Carter like does it now, and
Hmm.
like I'm like that's really obnoxious. The other thing that I thought was like kind of obnoxious is that no less than probably like 8 minutes of this movie is dedicated to flashbacks. Where like
Yeah,
so like
seriously.
we hope that you didn't watch the last two recently because like we're going to show you anything that you need from the last two movies.
Yeah,
Like
there's a
even like
whole romance montage where they just
right.
show moments of Tewksbury and Noel Holmes, like flashbacks to their relationship.
Or like there's this instance where like Enola is like questioning whether or not she can solve something, and it goes back to like a scene in Enola Holmes 1 where, like, Henry Cavill's talking to her by a tree, and it's like, "Oh, we
Mhm.
needed that line to come back."
Yeah. Yeah, and the fourth wall breaking, I think, reaches its peak in this movie in the most obnoxious way, where not only is Enola Holmes breaking the fourth wall, other characters break the fourth wall in this movie in a way that I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Like, the scene that stands out to me is, like, they're showing the woman who was, like, going undercover pretending she was, like, the high society woman, like, having tea with the mother-in-law, and
Mhm.
she looks at the camera and breaks the fourth wall. I'm like, "What is going on here?"
Yeah. I remember that scene, yeah. And, like, when we talk about, like, the mystery or any clues, like, I thought, like, that was, like, the most interesting one is, like, they're like, "Oh, how did you get this wedding to happen in Malta?" It's like, "Oh, because I made, like, Tewksbury's mother go to this tea and, like,
Mhm.
manipulated the conversation so she would, like, think to go to Malta." I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay, that's kinda interesting."
Yeah,
But
but,
anything
oh
else
my
about, like,
god.
Afghan goal or, like, military sequences just kinda, like, washes over, and I'm just like, "I need to go get, like, a snack or something. This is totally boring."
Yeah, for sure. It's like, at its core, it's an interesting idea that you, like, are gonna critique colonialism and, like, blood money and kinda zero in on that, but it's kinda, like, tossed aside fairly quickly. It's like, they don't actually, like, really hold up a lens to it, and so it feels very disposable and, I don't know, disingenuous to be, like, trying to tackle that in a plot.
Now, Evan, I would tell you that I hope that they don't make another one of these, but, like, I don't plan on watching it even if they do. I think,
Yeah,
like
I think I'm with you there as much as I did like initially the first one and the second one. I'm exhausted by this movie, and I also feel like I don't need to see another one.
it's like I said, like, I don't know if it's a Netflix formula thing. There's this other one that's popular on Netflix right now called, like, Letters to Isabel that's been getting a lot of, like, buzz on social media and, like, in the Netflix top 10. I'm like, would I watch a cute rom-com? Maybe I would, but now I'm like, "Oh, I hope it's a movie and not just, like, I don't know, something to have on in the background."
Yeah. Well, any final thoughts on the Enola Holmes series?
Yeah, I'm glad it's done.
Yeah. I didn't think I'd be saying that, like, after I A, saw was gonna go see this movie, and B, was like, "Okay, let's talk about this," but yeah, I'm glad that we're done talking about it. Glad that hopefully they're done making these, and we'll move on to other topics that are more interesting.
Yeah, it made me kind of just like, oh, I was thinking about, I was like, oh, Henry Cavill's supposed to be doing Highlander, like let me see that. I'm into that.
Highlander. I could go on a whole tangent about Highlander. I will spare you listeners from that. Let's shift to our station identification, and then we'll do our what we've been watching. So you've been listening to the It's the Pictures podcast, which you can follow on social media. You can find us as It's the Pictures or It's the Pic Pod, depending on where you're looking. But we're on Instagram and Blue Sky and Threads. And Max, you've still been keeping a letterbox for the show, right?
It kind of exists.
Yeah, it exists
I
to connect with, but
Yeah, I don't really update it. If you want, like, up to date listings of what Evan and I are watching, it's probably best to follow our personal letterbox accounts. Either mine is at MH Covill, and I believe Evan's is at Real Recon.
yeah, yeah, that's where I would say we're the most active, at least for me, I'm the most active on Letterboxd of any social media. But yeah, if you want to get in touch with us, you can send us an email. It's thepictures@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. Your thoughts, perhaps, on the Enola Holmes movies, Millie Bobby Brown, or other related topics we've discussed here, like Heat 2, which I keep wanting to say Heat 2 Electric Boogaloo, so I will, or many of the other news or the summer box office game. Hey, maybe what your pick would have been cool if people had sent us their picks so we could have like compared how they did versus how we were doing, but maybe next year.
Yeah.
And then yeah, let's see what else. So, and we want you to check out this great newsletter that Max does. This pictures newsletter. Max, what are some of the upcoming things you have, or what are some of the recent pieces you published in the newsletter?
Yeah, I think I published my Criterion Collection recommendations because that's currently going on at Barnes and Noble till about the end of July, where you can buy movies at 50% off.
Mm-hmm.
I was bad and bought a few myself. Um,
Uh-oh.
so yeah, if you want to take part in that, go to the newsletter and see some of the recommendations on there. If you are looking for something to purchase, um, I don't know. I haven't written too much lately. I have an idea, maybe to do some reviews over there, some features. I know that I have now that we're recording this right at the beginning of July. Uh, I have to do a new Criterion pick for paid members. To get that every month, and some other goings on. I know. Uh, I've tried to watch a lot of TV recently, Evan. I even tried to pick up the X-Men '97 season 2 because
Mm,
I reviewed the first season over at Roger Ebert a few years back, so I was trying to watch that too.
nice. Yeah, I've been meaning to check that show out. I know a lot of people really like it. It's been on my list. All right. So, and where can I think you started to say earlier where people can find you personally if they want to find you on social media, but where can people follow you, Max?
Yeah, I'm pretty often at Blue Sky. You can find me at maxcovill.com or search me Max Covill there. Um, Follow my letterbox, like I said. Those are probably the two places that I post most often.
Cool. And I guess if you're looking for me you can find me over on Spoiler Piece Theater, the weekly film podcast, reviewing movies, including ones like Enola Holmes. We talked about that in a recent episode. Occasionally there's overlap in the topics between that show and this show, but usually we kind of keep them separate.
Yeah,
And then
we don't know what Dave Rydell thought about Enola Holmes. So if you want to find that out, go listen to the Spoiler Piece Theater.
yeah, yeah. You'll hear some cantankerous takes from Dave. But yeah, and then you can follow me as Real Recon, as Max mentioned, on Threads, Blue Sky, Letterbox is probably where you'll see the most updates. I'm really attempting to post more in other places, even if it's not movie related things. It could be just like other fun shirts or Legos or things. I've got a big stack of things that I need to build behind me. So yeah. All right. Well, let's jump to what we've been watching lately. Max, you have a couple movies that you saw. Two very different movies.
Yeah, I've been to the movies lately, Evan. Like I remember, like we did an episode within the last month, and I was like, "Oh, you're going to the movies, you're seeing all these films." I think it was like back in May,
Mhm.
and now it's my turn because I think after we recorded our Jackass episode, I went and saw Jackass Best and Last because I thought to myself, I wanted the experience of seeing a Jackass movie in the theater.
Mhm.
Have that experience before this franchise is done. So I went to like I don't know. I think it was like the first night 9:40 screening, and it wasn't really packed, but there was a good amount of people in there. Um,
Mhm.
this movie is half a clip show and half new material.
That is really sad. I was worried that was going to happen based on the description. Like, oh, we're going to be like looking back at stuff. So it's like, okay, you're just going to like repackage stuff you've already done.
Yeah, it's very much that. And like some people I saw reviews of like, oh, if you're here for like Jackass 5, like you might have seen like some of the stuff that they think is like really exclusive. I hadn't seen it all. I didn't have that much experience with the series outside of the movies, but when you do a whole series where you're going back and rewatching these movies, uh, it was very much like a repeat of certain scenes. Like, oh, they do like was it the Poop Deluxe 3D scene again? They show
Mhm.
that. They do. The movie starts with this clip of like Knoxville like going out into this canyon and shooting himself with a gun in the chest, where he's wearing a bulletproof vest, and like there's like a whole thing at the bottom of the screen like, "Do not attempt this, you will die. These guys
Mhm.
are idiots." Um, and they show this other scene where like they were never able to show it on MTV, where they put Knoxville in like a cardboard box with like pillows around him and pushed him down the flight of stairs, and they're like, they didn't want to show that on MTV because it was too easy to replicate at home.
Mhm. Yeah, makes sense.
But you know, so those were like two of
So, it
the
sounds like it
scenes
was a
that like
little bit
keep.
disappointing.
Yeah, those were the two scenes like from the archives. I mean, they showed one, Evan. They did the Silence of the Lambs from Jackass Forever, but they added that Bam Majera actually filmed that as well.
Mm.
So they have footage from when he filmed it.
Well, I bet that was interesting considering he's deathly afraid of snakes.
Yeah, so it was very interesting because of that. Yeah. Um, yeah, and they have some archival footage of Bam in there as well. But the new stuff, you know, that's kind of what people were kind of interested to see. And let's just say, like Johnny Knoxville, he's totally tapped out. He's just a ringleader. He did not really appear in many of the stunts. It was up to the other guys to really do it. And as far as like the new cast members that they introduced in Forever, they're barely cheerleaders. It's like
Mm.
they don't get asked to do too much. Um, I think one of the scenes that really stood out for me, which was really gross, was like I think four of them have to take like colonoscopy prep, and then they put like plastic bags around them and play Twister at the same time.
Ugh,
And then they just like shit all over each other and stuff like that. And it's just
that's
like,
pretty gnarly.
yeah,
Yuck.
that was like one of the scenes that like I remember the most. But yeah, it was disappointing, Evan. Like it felt like a final hurrah for these guys. Like let them go out, sure, but I would have liked a movie out of it as opposed to like, okay, these guys got together for like 2 weeks to film this.
Mhm. Yeah. Jackass sounds more like half-ass for this last one.
And then today I saw the Minions and Monsters movie, which is, you know, I don't know what number Minions movie, considering how many like Despicable Me movies there have been and Minion spinoffs. But
Mhm.
the cool thing for film people, Evan, is that this takes place in like, I don't know, the 1920s through the late 1940s, and it's all about
Mm.
Hollywood.
Gotcha.
So they do a lot of classic movie references throughout
Hmm,
this.
okay. Sounds
Like
fun.
like there's a sequence at the beginning where they're like, "Oh, here's Charlie Chaplin doing Modern Times, and here's Harold Lloyd hanging from the clock in Safety Last, and here's you know the house falling on Buster Keaton and like Steamboat Willie Jr. or whatever, Steamboat Jr." So, and the very clearly they show like ET. There's a gag at the beginning where they're like, "Oh, here's George Lucas," and like it's just like a statue of George Lucas, and then George Lucas moves, and it's just like, "Oh," and he's like, "Let me out of this box," and they're like, "No."
Mhm.
um,
Yeah, and it was actually George Lucas because he wanted to do a voice in this because he really likes those movies.
yeah.
Should
So
tell you
so
a lot about him.
so like this is like a 90-minute movie, and like for like the first half an hour, 40 minutes, it had my attention. But then near the end, I was nodding off. And I told Shannon afterwards that I was nodding off, Evan, and she's like, "Oh,
Mhm.
I just totally fell asleep." She's like, "I don't remember anything for the last 20 minutes of that movie." It was like, "Oh, okay." So I wasn't alone.
Yeah.
So
You guys were watching this with your kiddo?
yeah, yeah, in the movie theater.
Did she like it? Did she have fun?
Yeah, she said the part that we fell asleep during was her favorite part. So,
Oh, that's really funny.
so yeah, she enjoyed it, but we I enjoyed it more of like, oh, here are these classic movie nods, and that's kind of cute. And okay, I'm done.
Yeah. Does she have to nudge you guys awake? She'd be like, "Mom, Dad, wake up! The movie's over."
No, she didn't. No, she was she was very into the movie. She was paying attention pretty closely.
Good. I'm glad she enjoyed it. And also thank you for your service. Thank you for your contributions to my box office.
Yes, yeah, yeah. They even have a sequence of them where they're like they have a piano player and they say, "Oh, play it again, Sam," and he plays the Casablanca theme.
Ah, nice.
So
Well, at least it's chock full of fun movie references. That's
right.
that's a positive reason to go see it.
And so I wasn't the only one to watch movies. You gotta tell me what made you watch Stallone's Rambo movies?
We were talking about it over on Spoiler Piece. We were talking about it for our Patreon segment over there, and we were like, okay, let's watch First Blood, which is one of Shauna's all-time favorite movies. We were like, oh, let's watch it. And then Dave had said to me, why don't we watch, Rambo First Blood Part 2, because it's such a different movie. Like, let's just watch the two of them, and like that would be a really interesting, fun conversation. And it was, honestly, watching the two, because they are very different movies. Like First Blood, which I love and love even more on most recent watch, is this really excellent, tense meditation on like PTSD and Vietnam and how we treat our veterans. And I think it's really, really good movie. I think, Stallone, he's not like the best actor, but I think, he's in a really, really smart, good movie. And it's, the score is really good, the editing, the action parts, I think all like were like really compelling. Him and Brian Dennehy as like adversaries throughout the movie, and like Richard Crenna showing up as his old commander from the army, and it has like this really compelling climax. In the movie, it's like these it's something that Sean always points out. It's like one of her favorite things about it. It's like the climax of the movie is a man crying in another man's arms. Like, what action movie do you go to see is a guy like being vulnerable and being like, I'm a mess. Like the war like messed me up, and like I don't know what to do with my life now, and no one like respects me, and I can't get a job. And I think that all is like really interesting stuff to like delve into and talk about. And then you have, Rambo First Blood Part 2, aside from the confusing nature of the titles of the movies throughout the
So
Rambo franchise.
does First Blood Part 2 come immediately after First Blood?
Kinda. I mean, like it came out I think 2 years later, like
Okay,
in terms of like it was like a fast follow, I feel like, in
because
terms of like sequels.
I saw First Blood fairly recently. I'd say within the last 2 years, and
Yeah.
I also thought it was a pretty good movie. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Um, but then like I always knew these movies as like Rambo, and like when I was like, oh, I'm gonna watch this movie called First Blood. Is this like a Rambo movie? And then
Mhm.
like now you're talking about this like naming conventions is really like confusing, and this is even more so. So
Well, yeah, because you have First Blood, then you have Rambo First Blood Part 2. Okay, that's a head scratcher. Then you have Rambo 3. Okay, I'm now really confused. Now you have Rambo, which is Rambo 4. They just called Rambo. And then you have Rambo Last Blood, which is Rambo 5. It's like, what were they thinking with this naming these movies? It's totally bizarre. And the second one is just like it's so different in that it's like an actiony like movie about the Rambo, after the events of the first movie, he's doing hard time, like breaking rocks and like a chain gang. And like they're like, Rambo, like we need you, the computer said you were like one of three people who could do this mission where you got to sneak back into Vietnam because we know there's still POWs there, and you got to like take photos of the POWs to prove that they're there, and then we'll do like the political like backflips to like try and get them out. but don't try and engage. But then of course he gets there and he's like, well, of course I'm gonna rescue these guys, like they're
Yeah.
POWs. And so like that's, you know, a whole thing. And like the people want to, they abandon him there like in the shit, and he gets caught and he's, you know, also a prisoner and has to like escape being tortured by like the Vietnamese and the Russians. Of course it's the 80s, right? The Russians have got to be involved.
Sure.
They got to be torturing Rambo. And yeah, it's just like rah rah action movie, and it's still fun and watchable, but at the same time it's also like you're like, it's so different. And it's just like, okay, our takeaway from the first one was like, let's make more action and make you know, they have this woman that Rambo teams up with who like helps him on the ground there. And like they have this like weird whirlwind romance, and then
Mm.
like they fridge her by like killing her off. And then he's like, okay, I'm gonna get revenge and like kill all the people now because I'm mad that they killed my girlfriend. And it's just, I don't know, there's some very like head scratchy choices. Like the score is very different. It's like very light and bouncy, and you're like, what is the light bouncy score doing in this movie, which is like a heavy action movie with like lots of violence and explosions and shit. So yeah, two like very different movies, and they comparing and contrasting them, I have to say, is a lot of fun.
It
Have you
is it
seen the other Rambo movies,
no,
Max?
is First Blood Part 2 worth watching? Well, let's put it that way.
I think so.
Because
Just
I
in
definitely think First Blood is worth watching. I think it's a good movie.
Absolutely. Yeah, if you've never seen First Blood, listeners, you must see it. I think it is a truly amazing film, like top to bottom. First Blood 2, Rambo First Blood Part 2. I just freaking keep messing up the titles because they're so confusing. I think it's worth watching, but to also see some of like the bizarre choices that they made and how they decided to like render the story or continue the character in such a vastly different and I think inferior direction. Because like after that, I think most of the movies then are just Rambo doing rescue operations. I think the third one he has to rescue his troutman Richard Crenna. The fourth one, I think he has to rescue people, and then the fifth one, which I haven't seen, but Shauna told me it was so bad that she turned it off, involves human trafficking. So yeah, I think it's worth seeing, but it's kind of more like let's watch it. Not I don't want to say go so far as to say hate watch, but definitely watch with a kind of like curious eye about like why they made some of the choices they made. Yeah. So anyway, those are my thoughts on First Blood and Rambo First Blood Part 2. Well, yeah, I think that wraps up this episode of It's the Pictures. Max, this has been. Thank you for suffering through the Enola Holmes movies to talk about it this week, and we'll be coming at you soon with another episode. And well, of course, we'll have to figure out what we're doing for that, and we'll keep things interesting, listeners. We'll keep throwing some topics you're not expecting at you. But thanks as always for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
All right, bye.